Take.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another very important lecture. Well, if you are new here, consider subscribing. Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to take you through a very important topic titled development. I want to give you an introduction to the concept of development. But just briefly, let me take you through the topic and outline. We are going to be looking at the meaning of development, interpretation of development, sustainable development, and why sustainable development, briefly, ladies and gentlemen. When we talk about development, I know a lot of explanations have been given by various scholars and various development activists with regards to the meaning of development. Well, today we are going to take an academic perspective to look at the meaning of development and what development really means using the African content as a case study. What is development? Well, we say the term development is generally used to denote growth and progress. However, the term, particularly in the last 2 centuries, has become synonym to economic growth in the terms of gross domestic product and per capita income of the nation. This definition has created a rat race amongst the nations to attain and retain development goals. These goals are often contrary or contradictory to the idea of preservation or sustenance of development. That has been the opinion of various scholars. Most people believe its development means economic growth. But today, we are going to look at various angles, various interpretations, and the real meaning of what we call development. And several scholars have accounted and have debunked the view that development does not only mean economic growth. Development does not only mean a growth in the GDP, which is gross domestic product, or GDP per capita. But actually, it has to mean, or it goes beyond what we call the GDP. Ladies and gentlemen. However, we also say most frequently used definition of sustainable development is from the Brundtland Report. Now, the Brundtland Report has given a very unique definition supported by various scholars, including the United Nations. What has the Brundtland Report said about development? Now, it actually says that sustainable development, according to the sustainable development, is development that meets the needs of the present, that is the people, without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. In other words, it is improving the quality of life of the present generation without excessive use or abuse of natural resources so that they can be preserved for the next generation. The term was first coined in 1972 at the United Nations Conference on Human Environment at Stockholm. Let me just give a brief analysis of this. Well, actually, according to the United Nations and several other people, development goes far beyond the GDP. But rather, it has to talk about what? Sustainability. And sustainability does not only mean development at GDP level. However, it talks about concentrating on the people, the masses. Now we look at the interpretation of development. When we look at development, now forgetting about sustainable development, but various scholars have given various interpretations about what actually development means. Well, we are going to look at what development, the interpretation of development has been since the 1950s. Now, the international agenda began to focus on development beginning in the second half of the 20th century. An understanding of development mostly means economic growth, which did not necessarily lead to a rise in the level of quality of life for populations all over the world. There was a need to place an emphasis on specific policies that could channel resources and enable social and economic mobility for various layers of the population. Now, initially, most people looked at, as I said earlier, were focusing on economic growth and the growth per capita income. But looking at it from an academic background and based on the research that has been done, the development does not actually talk about GDP, but actually it goes beyond the GDP. As several scholars and several individuals have given their various opinions with regards to what they mean about development, with regards to their own perspective about development, with regards to what their own opinion about development really is. And we are going to look now at the interpretations, at the meanings, at the understanding that people have given with regards to what they think development really is. Now, we now see. Okay, through the years, professionals and various researchers developed a number of definitions and emphasis on the term development. Amartya Sen, for example, developed the capability approach. We define development as a tool enabling people to reach the highest level of their ability through granting of freedom of action. That is freedom of economic, social, and family actions. Now, as I was saying, that various individuals have given their opinions. Of course, amateurs have actually believed in the fact of what we call the capability approach. For the capability approach, that individuals will be able to grow because they are capable enough, because they have the skills, because as a result of what they believe and what they know, not about who they know. That is to say, for example, in Sierra Leone, because I know I have a particular skill and I understand that skill well, I should be able to grow as a result of my capability. That is what it interprets to be development. That if individual grows based on their abilities, the person with the IT background should grow in that field and must be able to get freedom from the government, freedom from family, freedom from also over the society to be able to grow. That is what it interprets as development. But let us contextualize it in Africa, where people do not grow based on their skills. They grow based on who they know. They grow based on tribal sentiment. They grow based on a lot of other things that actually are not correct. So this particular scholar is focusing on the fact that we need to grow based on our capabilities, based on our abilities, and to her, that is what we refer to as development. Let us now go to the yearly interpretation of what we call development. Now, the interpretation of development really started in the 1950s to 1960s, and that was when classical political economists tried and made an attempt to interpret what we call development. These classical political economists can be Adam Smith, where Adam Smith, W.W. Rostow, the light of Karl Marx, and others, who have made several attempts to really interpret what development meant. And to them, development meant economic growth, and that is the growth in the GDP. The total income of a nation can be interpreted to them to mean development. Now, look at what we see here. The 1950s to 1960s, the interpretation of development was drawn from the modernization paradigm. This paradigm of interpretation came into existence when classical political economists like Adam Smith, Karl Marx, W.W. Rostow, and others tried to position themselves to interpret the meaning of development. They focused on development to mean economic growth, which in turn identifies GDP as an indicator of development. Now, that was what they said in the 1950s to 1960s. That a country can only develop when there is a GDP, when the GDP grows. That is the gross domestic product, the total income per country. When actually it grows, then that is what they call development. And not only the GDP, but the GDP per capita. That means the total, the amount of the country's income divided by individual, the total income that is supposed to be received by that individual determines, that is what we call per income. And when that income is higher, then that was what they interpret to be development. But contradictorily, Manzuri came with a different perspective. Let's see what Manzuri said. Manzuri and others believe that education is a key indicator to development. Now, according to Professor Manzuri, this is not development. Education is a key factor to development. And any country that embraces education, that country is developed. Any society that embraces education, that society is developed. What does Manzuri use to interpret this? According to Manzuri, for you to be able to interpret the developed status of a country, go to the national university of that country. By going to the universities of that country, look at that university well. If the universities are developed, if the universities have grown, then definitely development is seen in that university, in that country. That means, why does what Manzuri emphasizing on that? Because it is the people from the universities that come down to develop the nation. And if the universities are still not practicing modernized system of learning, if the university are still dilapidated, if the university are still backward, if the university have no qualified individual, if the university are not using the recent technologies, then definitely the country is still not developed. That was the interpretation of Manzuri. And to me, I tend to accept, because anyway, let me just leave it there. When you go to most universities in Africa, and Sierra Leone to be specific, viewing the facilities there, you begin to see the reason why Sierra Leone and Africa as a whole is not developed. You can be the judge yourself and try to see what you can interpret and understand in your own meaning. However, that was Manzuri's perspective. According to Dudley Sears and others, they argue that development can be interpreted to mean three indicators, which are the tracing of what has happened to poverty, unemployment, and inequality in the country since independence. These areas must be fully satisfied if we are to talk about development. What does that mean? According to Dudley Sears, development can only be when the three indicators have been satisfied. What are these indicators? You ask yourself, since independence in that country, what has happened to poverty? Has poverty been eradicated? Since independence in that country, what has happened to unemployment? Has it been eradicated? Since independence in that country, what has happened to unemployment? inequality. If these three have been eradicated, then the country is developed. If they are at minimum, then the country is developed. But looking at Sierra Leone, where unemployment since independence have always gone, where inequality since independence has always been at the apex, where we have inequalities, tribalism, a lot of other sentimental issues, definitely you don't need a prophet to tell you that Sierra Leone is still backward. Sierra Leone is still not growing at all. So a lot of these can help you interpret what we call really development. Development does not only mean GDP, but look at these indicators, look at the interpretations, not only from a commonsensical perspective, but let us view what Mazuru said, that education is a priority. And let us view what Odysseus said about unemployment, about inequality, let us look at these concepts and try to know how to interpret development. Let us look at these scholars who believe in the capability approach, in the ability approach. Do we have gender development really at the apex? Do we have capability development, people growing in Sierra Leone, people growing in Africa as a result of their capabilities? Then we have a question to answer. That is not the end of the interpretation. In the 1970s, a new interpretation was given to development, even though economic growth per capita income was not abandoned. This time, development was interpreted from the minimalist to the maximalist perspective. You see that? The minimalist here simply means the provision of basic human wants, such as food, clothing, and shelter. The maximalist here simply means the provision of a lot of things, such as education, health, etc. What am I saying here? We look at the 1970s, the interpretation of development shifted from that of the GDP, from that of education, from now to that of what we call the minimalist to the maximalist. In the 1970s to 1980s, most scholars now interpreted development to mean the provision from the minimalist to the maximalist. That is to say, individuals should be able to have basic human needs. What are they? Food, clothing, shelter. There must be a provision of these before we talk about development. And also, there should be a maximalist interpretation, which is the provision of education, the provision of health, the provision of quality water, the provision of these wants that are basic, that are at maximalist level, and at those minimalist level, definitely enhances development. The question is, how many Sierra Leoneans has food, clothing, and shelter? How many Sierra Leoneans still have access to education? How many Sierra Leoneans? So we have a lot of these to answer, and let our conscience really serve us to understand whether development, when we interpret at this level what we call development, we should interpret it from an academic perspective and not from a commonsensical angle. When we interpret development, we interpret it from an academically informed perspective. So in essence, development means this, starting from GDP, which has been condemned, moving to different other philosophical thoughts, moving to education, moving to now with minimalists and maximalists. Now we're talking about sustainable development, which is more or less a people-centered approach. The people first. We cannot be talking about development when you are the only person enjoying the resources of the country. You cannot be talking about development when the poorest of the poor are suffering. You cannot be talking about development when resources are not reaching the rural people. You cannot be talking about development when the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. You cannot be talking about development when there are only few individuals in the population that are getting access to resources and the rest of mankind are being discriminated. That is not development. Now, moving on, let us look at what sustainable development talks about. When we talk about sustainable development, we are not talking about cosmetic development. We are talking about reliable development that can stand the test of time, that can be proven in future. Now, let's look at it, what we see here. We say sustainable development is often referred to as the marriage of economy and ecology. That is, to attain economic development without compromising the ecological balance. It can be attained by rigorous policy change, taking action and altering practices. There are three aims of sustainable development. When we talk about sustainable development, it means attaining growth and progress without compromising the environment. But today in Africa, we see that development is happening, but people are mining resources and they are damaging the environment. They are degrading a lot of erosions, a lot of tendencies, deforestation, timber exploitation, and then we call it development. What about the future? Have you considered? What the resources that are being exported, have you considered about the future? Is that sustainable development? We have environmental degradation, we have environmental problem, we have flooding, we have a lot of, is that development? So we look at these factors, and sustainability takes into consideration not only growth, not only progress, not only change, but the consideration in the environmental facets. And environment is very important. important here, because without a consideration of the environment, development has not taken place. Without a consideration of sustainability, development has not taken place. You cannot say development happens today and tomorrow it's faded. That is not development. What about the next generation? What about our children and children to come? That is what the United Nations was looking at when they really understand, when they really coin this concept of sustainability and sustainable development. Now, we go. There are three more aims of development that we're going to talk about. One, A says economic, that means to attain the balance of growth. B, ecological, that means preserve the ecosystem, that environment. And C, guaranteeing equal access. See, that's social guaranteeing equal access to resources on all human communities. What am I saying here? When we talk about development, there must be change and growth. When we talk about development, there must be ecosystem, that means the environmental preservation, no deforestation, no that has the tendency to put people into danger, no extraction of human resources and more irrigation that can cause a lot of, you don't even know maybe what the actions that are currently undergoing, being done by mining companies has the tendency for earthquake to occur in the future. You don't need to be told that it has a tendency to cause earthquake. You don't need it. A lot of problems can occur based on this. Have we considered the future? Have we considered? We can do that, but let us look at a more technological approach that can change, that can rebrand the processes of development. Now, we also talk about resources being allocated to all human, to all communities. We cannot talk about development when only few individuals are getting access to the resources that are meant for the state. Only few individuals are there to enjoy without equitable distribution. That is not development, and that is not sustainable development. So we talk about development at equilibrium. We talk about development at a universal level. We talk about development that for the people, the poorest of the poor. And we are more concerned about welfare maximization. We are more concerned about development at a universal level. Now, why do we need sustainable development? We need sustainable development. Now, he said, hence, the idea of sustainable development is essential to address the following issues. One, to curb or prevent environmental degradation. See that? Let us stop this. With sustainable development, we can solve environmental degradation. This deforestation. That is why I want to commend President Bill for a very brilliant idea. Now he has mounted a campaign on the planting of trees. That was a very brilliant idea from him, for just the fact that trees are being cut down. He now decided that they should be planting some trees to, I think that's a step towards sustainable development. But again, we also need to ensure safe human life. I like this one. When we talk about sustainable development, human being must be safe. I cannot be living in my country and I'm thinking of when I'm going to die. I cannot be living in my country and I do not have food to eat tomorrow. I cannot be living in my country and I do not have access to quality university education. These are problems. So we have to look at it that way and see that indeed that is not sustainable development. We also need to check the exploitative technology and find alternative sources. Do we have affordable technologies? Do we have affordable institutions that can provide these technologies that are creating the enable environment for development? Let's ask ourselves these questions. Then again, to check the over-exploitation and wastage of natural resources. I like this one. Natural resources are being exploited out of this country. Both timber, we have minerals, these are problems affecting the environment, and that has a tendency to, that must stop in Africa, because it has happened, it has been happening, and it is still happening, and that will always continue to bring problems. So therefore, sustainability talks about not only today, but the future, and in consideration of the future generation, and in consideration of tomorrow to come, and in consideration of a better system of governance. Now, the concept of sustainable development is based on the following principles. One, integration of environment and economic decision. Let us take care of the environment. That is what sustainable development is saying. Stewardship of humans as caretakers of the environment. Let us all take responsibility. We as citizens and the government as well. The government needs to make better policies. Citizens need to accept policies of such nature. And then by coming together and all of us accept the responsibility that the environment, protection of this is all our responsibility. Society can go on. Now, not only that, share the responsibility, I've just said that. Accountability and decision making, I like that. Those in corridor of power must be accountable to the citizens. They must be free and fair. They must not be sentimental in nature. And they must work in the interest of the citizens. Only then can we achieve sustainable development. Because they have the resources. That is why after this topic, our next topic will be public finance. We are interested in looking at how government spends the money in funding policies and how they can be able to create development for society. We are interested in that, and we'll take an academic perspective also in understanding the concept of public finance. But let me don't rush issues. Quality of nature and life and human life. We have also sustainable development looks at the quality of the ordinary man, the life. You cannot be enjoying eating 3 times a day and there is this poor man there living. What is the problem? So sustainable development looks at catering for the poor man. That is why I like Robert Chambers putting the last first. Those people who are actually considered as nothingness should progress from grass to grace, progress from zero to hero. In summary, when we talk about sustainable development, when we talk about development, we really mean sustainable development. And sustainable development looks at development that caters for the welfare of the general citizens, and not only general citizens, but also for the near future, taking into consideration environmental protection, taking into consideration development for the less privileged individuals. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you enjoy these lectures. If that is so,